The t-shirt said, "Divorced and Free," in cheerful pink letters, and I was holding it at my husband's birthday dinner, which I paid for, while everyone laughed. Tyler stood at the head of the table with his arm around Megan, his work wife, and raised his glass. "To the person who really gets me," he said, grinning at her, "my biggest support." Then he handed me the gift bag. I remember thinking the tissue paper crackled too loud, like it wanted everyone to hear. I pulled out the shirt, read it twice, because surely I was misunderstanding. Looked up at Tyler, who was watching me with this expectant smile, like he'd just given me concert tickets. Megan kissed his cheek. Someone's phone was definitely recording. I paid for this dinner. I chose this restaurant. I ordered his favorite bourbon for the toast. And now I was holding a divorce joke, while his girlfriend, work wife, preened beside him. "Babe, it's funny," Tyler said, still smiling. "You're always saying you need more free time." I stood up, placed the shirt carefully back in the bag, set it on my chair like it was something fragile and valuable. Then, I walked out through the patio doors, while 30 people watched. The valet looked nervous when I asked for my car. I tipped him $20, my money, not our money, and drove home with my phone buzzing so hard in the cup holder that it sounded like a trapped wasp. 87 missed calls by the time I pulled into our driveway. 87. I'm Chloe Barrett, and I stage homes for a living. That means I walk into empty houses and make them look like someone's dream life already happened there. Fresh flowers on the kitchen island, books artfully stacked on the coffee table, spines facing out, obviously, because that's what civilized people do. Throw pillows that cost more than most people's car payments, arranged just so. I'm good at selling the fantasy of a perfect life. Turns out I'd been living in one. Tyler works in property development and marketing. 6'3", CrossFit shoulders, teeth so white they practically glow in the dark. We met at an open house 5 years ago. He was charming, ambitious. He laughed at my jokes about subway tile and shiplap, which back then felt like we were sharing something special. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. We bought into the Riverside Oaks development 3 years ago. A cul-de-sac utopia where the HOA fines you if your grass exceeds 3 inches and everyone has a doorbell camera pointed at everyone else's business. Upper middle class surveillance state with really good school ratings. Megan Chen joined Tyler's development company 18 months ago. Marketing coordinator, social media maven, always posting those candid office shots where everyone looks like they're having the time of their lives selling condos. She started appearing in Tyler's stories. Work wife became his favorite phrase, delivered with air quotes and a laugh that suggested I was uptight for noticing. They had inside jokes, shared playlists, a special handshake for crying out loud. But tonight was different. Tonight he'd made it public, made it a punchline, made me fund my own humiliation in front of colleagues and neighbors and my own mother, who'd looked at me across the table with such pity that I wanted to sink through the floor. My phone kept buzzing. I turned it off. The house was dark. I'd left every light off when we left for dinner, because Tyler always complained about the electric bill, despite the fact that I paid half of everything and he drove a $70,000 truck. I sat in my car in the garage and breathed. 5 counts in, 7 counts out, like my kickboxing instructor Rachel taught us. She's always saying that panic is just energy that needs direction. I could use some direction right about now. The text started arriving the moment I turned my phone back on. Tyler, babe, where are you? Tyler, it was a joke. Tyler, everyone's worried. Tyler, you're embarrassing me. That last one made me laugh. Sharp, bitter, the kind of laugh that probably would have scared him if he'd been there to hear it. Megan had DM'd me too. Hey lady, hope you're okay. Just remember we all love you. Be kind to yourself tonight, XOXO. Be kind to myself, while she kissed my husband's cheek in front of 30 witnesses. There were messages from Tyler's business partner, Craig, from our neighbor, Danielle, from people I barely knew asking if I was all right with that particular tone that meant they were already composing their group chat messages about what a scene I'd caused. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I made coffee, the good stuff I hide from Tyler because he dumps flavored creamer in everything, and opened my laptop. Time to use my superpowers for something other than making strangers' houses look inhabited by happy families. First stop, our shared iCloud calendar, which I still had full access to because Tyler couldn't be bothered to change the settings after I set up his phone last year. Interesting. Lots of client meetings that lasted 3 hours. Several site visits on Saturdays, our Saturdays, the ones where he said he was working and I was home meal prepping and organizing closets like a chump. One entry just said lunch with a little heart emoji. He'd never used emojis for my calendar entries. I took screenshots, neat, organized, time-stamped. Then I moved on. Next, our joint credit card statements. I'm meticulous about these anyway. Comes with the territory when you run your own business and can't afford to let receipts slide. There. Third week of March. Bella Notte restaurant. Server Megan, $340. I'd never been to Bella Notte. That was the place with the private cabanas and the tasting menu Tyler said was overpriced date night nonsense when I'd suggested it for our anniversary. Another charge. Wildflower Day Spa, gift certificate, $500. My birthday is in October. Megan's birthday, according to the office calendar, Tyler had synced to his phone, was March 19th. I screenshotted everything, saved it to a new folder labeled Home Projects, because if Tyler ever looked, which he wouldn't, he'd assume it was work stuff. Then I moved to the HOA portal. You'd be amazed what's public record in a place like Riverside Oaks. Property permits, variance requests, architectural review applications, violation notices. Our HOA president, Judith, runs this neighborhood like a small fascist state, but she's thorough. Everything's documented. Tyler's company had pulled permits for the new model home development at the edge of the subdivision, the Riverside Luxury Collection, or whatever pretentious name they'd branded it. I pulled up the applications, lots of paperwork, lots of signatures, some from Tyler, some from Craig, some from... Wait. I zoomed in on a landscape variance form dated 6 weeks ago. The signature said, Chloe Barrett, design consultant. I'd never seen this form before in my life. I sure as heck hadn't signed it. Sleep was a joke, so around 2 a.m. I gave up and went for a drive. The neighborhood looked different at night. All those perfect houses with their perfect landscaping, their Ring doorbells glowing like eyes, their 3-car garages hiding God knows what kind of secrets. In this zip code, everyone's performing for everyone else's cameras. All day, every day. I drove past the community center where we'd had our wedding reception, past the boutique gym where Megan taught bar classes on weekends. Yes, of course she did. Past the craft brewery where Tyler's company hosted client events, and I'd spent countless evenings smiling while people called me Tyler's better half. Better half. As if I was only real when attached to him. I ended up at the model home site. Construction was mostly done. 3 pristine show houses with their staged interiors visible through massive windows. I knew the stager they'd hired. Brittany something, always posting on Instagram about curated spaces and intentional design. I'd pitched for this job. Tyler said they went with someone else because they wanted fresh energy. Now I wondered if fresh energy meant not Tyler's wife. The houses looked good. I could admit that. But there was something off about the middle one, the largest model. The drainage slope looked wrong. Water would pool there after a heavy rain, right along the foundation. I took photos, wide shots, detail shots, the kind of documentation I use for my staging consultations. Then I went home. Tyler still wasn't back. I checked his location on Find My Friends. Yeah, I'm one of those wives now. And saw he was at Craig's apartment complex across town, probably drinking expensive whiskey and complaining about my overreaction. I added the drainage photos to my home projects folder and went to bed in the guest room. Morning came with pounding on the front door at 7 a.m. Tyler, of course, forgot his keys, or didn't want to use them. Wanted me to physically let him in so he could start explaining, justifying, whatever men like him do when they've been caught. I opened the door in my pajamas, the ratty ones, not the matching set he bought me for Christmas, and said nothing. "We need to talk," he said. He looked terrible. Good. "Do we? Chloe, come on. It was a stupid joke. You made it into this huge thing." "I made it into a thing. You walked out of my birthday dinner. After you gave me a shirt suggesting we get divorced while your girlfriend giggled." "She's not my girlfriend," Tyler said, but he said it too fast, and his eyes slid sideways the way they always did when he was lying. I've staged enough homes to know how people move through space when they're comfortable versus when they're trapped. Tyler was trapped right now, standing in our foyer in yesterday's clothes, trying to figure out which story would work. "Where were you last night?" I asked. "Craig's." "Alone?" "What? Of course alone. What are you implying?" I pulled out my phone, showed him the calendar screenshots. "These client meetings with Megan, 3-4 hours at a time, were those alone too?" He went still. That's the thing about confrontation. People always think they'll be smooth, have all the answers ready, but when you hit them with evidence, with specifics, they freeze. "Those were real meetings," he said finally. "For 3 hours. At Bella Notte. That was a working lunch. You told me that place was overpriced nonsense." "It is, but clients expect—" "Look, Chloe, I don't have to justify my work expenses to you." "You do when they're on our joint card," I said. "And when you forge my signature on HOA documents." That got him. I watched the color drain from his face, watched him calculate how much I knew, how much trouble he was in. "I can explain that, I'm sure you can. But right now, I need you to leave. This is my house too. Then go sleep in your room. I'll be in the guest room. And Tyler." I stepped closer, close enough that he had to look at me, really look at me, probably for the first time in months. "If you talk to me like I'm stupid again, if you gaslight me one more time, I will make the birthday dinner look like a casual conversation. Are we clear?" He opened his mouth, closed it, nodded. I went back to the guest room and locked the door. My first call was to Harold Chen, no relation to Megan, thank God, my neighbor 3 doors down. Harold's retired military, 70-something, lives alone in immaculate widower order and knows the HOA bylaws better than Judith herself. "Chloe," he said when he answered, "heard about the dinner. You okay?" News travels at light speed in Riverside Oaks, apparently. "I'm fine, Harold. Listen, I need your help with something." "Name it." "How serious is it if someone forges a signature on an HOA architectural review form?" Silence. Then, how serious as in legal trouble, or how serious as in Judith will have an aneurysm? "Both. Let me buy you coffee. You know the good place, not the chain garbage in the strip mall." 20 minutes. Harold was already seated when I arrived, 2 coffees on the table, and a 3-ring binder that looked like it had survived several small wars. "Show me," he said. I pulled up the document on my phone. Harold put on his reading glasses, the ones on the chain around his neck, because of course, and studied it. "That's not your signature," he said after a moment. "I know. That's fraud. Misrepresentation on a public document. Grounds for permit revocation if someone filed a complaint." "What if that someone was me?" Harold looked at me over his glasses. "Then I'd say someone better have a real good lawyer. These permits are tied to financing, Chloe. You pull the permit, the bank gets nervous, project timelines slip, money gets tight, He paused. That what you're after? I'm after making sure I'm not implicated in something I didn't approve. Mm-hmm. He didn't believe me, but he flipped through his binder anyway. Let me show you what else might be interesting. You know that drainage issue on the middle model? I noticed it last night, actually. Filed a concern about it 3 weeks ago. Anonymous submission through the HOA portal. Got buried in committee. But if someone were to, say, bring it up at next week's meeting during public comment, and if that someone had photographic evidence of standing water after last Friday's rain, he tapped a section of the bylaws. Mandatory reinspection could take weeks to resolve. I sipped my coffee. It was excellent. You're devious, Harold. I'm thorough. There's a difference. He closed the binder. Whatever you're planning, Chloe, do it right. Document everything. Stay legal. And for God's sake, don't do anything that makes you look like the unhinged wife, because that's exactly what they'll say you are. They're already saying it. Then don't give them ammunition. He slid a business card across the table. My niece. Family lawyer. Good at untangling financial messes. Tell her I sent you. I had a staging appointment that afternoon. A 1920s craftsman in the historical district, owned by an elderly woman downsizing after her husband's passing. Mrs. Kowalski met me at the door with tea and homemade cookies, and we spent an hour talking about what to highlight, what to minimize, how to make the house appeal to young families without erasing its history. You're very good at this, she said as I measured the living room. Making spaces feel lived in but aspirational. That's a gift. Thank you. My daughter said I should just hire some company to come in and do it all, but I wanted someone who'd respect what this house has been, you know? Not just what it could be worth. I thought about Tyler's model homes, all flash and no soul. Thought about how I'd been staging my own life, arranging the pillows just so, pretending everything was picture perfect while the foundation rotted underneath. I understand completely, I said. We agreed on a plan. I'd bring in lighter furniture for the living room, clear out some of the heavier antiques to storage, paint the kitchen cabinets white, but keep the original hardware, make it feel fresh but authentic. As I was leaving, Mrs. Kowalski touched my arm. My husband had an affair, you know, 20 years ago. Everyone said I should leave him, but I decided to stay, and we had 15 more good years before he passed. She paused. I'm not telling you what to do, dear. I'm just saying, you'll know what's right for you. Don't let anyone else decide that. I hugged her, got in my car, cried for exactly 5 minutes in her driveway, then pulled myself together and drove to the gym. Rachel's kickboxing class met 3 times a week in the strip mall between the juice bar and the wine shop, a very Riverside Oaks combination. Rachel herself was 6 feet of lean muscle and zero patience for excuses. Barrett, she said when I walked in, heard you had an interesting weekend. Does everyone in this town know everything? Pretty much, you okay? Working on it. Good, get wrapped up. We're doing bag work today. For the next hour, I didn't think about Tyler or Megan or forged signatures or drainage problems. I just hit things. Jab, cross, hook, uppercut, over and over until my shoulders burned and sweat soaked through my shirt. Better? Rachel asked afterward, while I was guzzling water. Getting there. You know what I tell my students about fighting? What? The person who wins isn't always the strongest or the fastest. It's the one who doesn't flinch first, who stays calm while the other person's losing it, who sees the opening and takes it. She handed me a towel. Remember that. I would. That evening, while Tyler was supposedly at a work dinner, I checked the calendar, no entry. I met with Harold's niece, Jennifer Price, at her office downtown. Jennifer was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with sharp eyes and an even sharper suit. Uncle Harold says you're in a situation, she said, after we'd gone through the preliminaries. My husband forged my signature on HOA documents related to his company's development project. We have joint credit cards that he's been using for personal expenses with his coworker, possibly girlfriend. And I think he might be using my business credentials to get vendor discounts. Jennifer made notes. Do you want to separate? I don't know yet. Right now, I want to protect myself and figure out exactly what he's done. Smart. Okay, here's what we do. First, I draft a letter to the HOA clarifying that you didn't authorize the signature and requesting investigation. That protects you legally and puts pressure on him professionally. Second, we close the joint credit card. You can do that unilaterally and open a new account in just your name. Transfer your business funds there immediately. Won't that tip him off? Probably, but the alternative is letting him keep using your money and your name. Which would you prefer? She had a point. Third, Jennifer continued, we document everything. Statements, emails, text messages, calendar entries, anything showing he's benefiting financially from your credentials or identity. If you decide to separate, we'll need that for asset division. If you decide to stay, you'll need leverage to renegotiate the terms of your marriage. You make it sound so transactional. Honey, it is transactional. Love is great, but money is real. And right now, someone's taking your money while disrespecting you publicly. That's got to stop, regardless of whether you keep the marriage. I like Jennifer. We spent another hour going through details. She took copies of everything I'd collected, made a timeline, started building what she called the paper trail. One more thing, she said as I was leaving. Whatever you're planning beyond the legal stuff, and Uncle Harold says you're planning something, be smart. Don't break laws. Don't give him ammunition for a restraining order or a harassment claim. Document, expose, but stay clean. Understood? Understood. I drove home feeling like I'd just assembled the framework for a staging project. Now, I just needed to fill in the details. The HOA meeting was on Wednesday at the community center, and I'd never attended one before. Tyler always went alone, said they were boring, said I'd hate it. He was wrong. Judith presided from a folding table at the front, flanked by the board members, Treasurer Tom, Secretary Linda, and Member-at-Large Craig, Tyler's business partner, which suddenly felt relevant. About 40 residents sat in metal folding chairs. Harold caught my eye from the back row and nodded. The meeting droned through the usual business. Landscaping contract renewal, pool maintenance schedule, holiday decoration guidelines for the upcoming season. Then they got to new business. Next item, Judith said, architectural review follow-up for the Riverside Luxury Collection. She looked at Craig. Status update. Craig stood up, all business casual and rehearsed confidence. All permits approved, construction on schedule, first closings projected for July. We're getting excellent interest from buyers and... Point of order, I said, standing up. The room went quiet. Tyler, sitting near the front, turned around so fast I heard his neck crack. Yes? Judith said, looking at me over her bifocals. I'd like to clarify something about the architectural review packet. Specifically, the design consultant's signature on the landscape variance form. Craig's smile didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. That signature, I continued, is listed as mine, Chloe Barrett, but I didn't sign that form. I didn't even see it before it was submitted. Now the room was really quiet. That's a serious accusation, Judith said. It's a serious problem, I replied. Someone used my name and credentials on an official HOA document without my knowledge or consent. I'd like to request an investigation. Tyler stood up. Chloe, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time, actually. This is the HOA meeting. These are HOA documents, and I'm an HOA member. I have every right to raise this concern. Judith looked between us like she was watching the world's most awkward tennis match. Then she looked at Craig. Do you have an explanation for this? There must be some miscommunication, Craig said smoothly. Chloe, we had you listed as the design consultant because Tyler mentioned you'd be doing the staging work. Maybe there was confusion about authorization. I'm not doing the staging work, I said. You hired Brittany Hoffman. Which is fine, but you can't list me as the consultant and forge my signature to support a variance I never reviewed. Harold stood up. If I may, Madam President, I actually have concerns about that variance as well. The drainage slope on the middle model violates Section 12.3 of the Building Code. I filed an anonymous report 3 weeks ago that seems to have gotten buried. He pulled out a tablet, Harold with a tablet, I loved it, and showed photos of standing water along the foundation after last week's rain. The room erupted. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. The guy from the corner lot said he'd seen the water pooling too. Someone else wanted to know why anonymous reports were being buried. A woman in the third row started reading the bylaws out loud from her phone. Tyler looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. Judith banged her gavel, yes, she actually had a gavel, and called for order. This meeting is getting out of hand, she announced. I'm tabling the Riverside Luxury Collection discussion pending investigation of both the signature discrepancy and the drainage concern. Mr. Harrison, Mr. Watson, I expect full documentation on my desk by Friday. Craig tried to object. Judith shut him down with a look that could have frozen lava. Meeting adjourned. Tyler caught up with me in the parking lot. What the hell was that? He demanded. That was me protecting myself from fraud charges. You embarrassed me in front of the entire neighborhood. Funny, I remember feeling similarly at your birthday dinner. He grabbed my arm. Not hard, not threatening, just enough to make me stop walking. Chloe, please, can we talk about this like adults? I looked at his hand on my arm until he let go. Sure, I said. Let's talk like adults. Did you forge my signature, yes or no? It wasn't forgery. We needed a design consultant on the form, and I thought you'd be okay with it. Did you ask me? No, but then it was forgery. Did you use our joint credit card to take Megan to Bella Notte? His jaw tightened. That was a work dinner. Tyler, I've seen the receipt. Server, Megan means she paid, which means she comped you because she works there part-time on weekends. Something I found out from exactly 3 minutes of looking at her Instagram. So not only are you taking her to romantic restaurants, you're letting her comp the bill, which is probably against her employer's policy. How's that for being adults? He had nothing. Just stood there in the parking lot while mosquitoes buzzed around the streetlights and someone's car alarm went off 3 rows over. I'm going to Craig's, he said finally. Of course you are. When you're ready to have a rational conversation, I just had one. You're the one who can't handle it. He left. I sat in my car and called Jennifer. He grabbed your arm, she asked. Barely, more like touched. Still doesn't look good for him. Document it. Time, place, witnesses, if any. There were people around. Good. How'd the meeting go otherwise? I told her. She laughed. Actually laughed, which somehow made the whole thing feel less insane. You're a natural, she said. Most people wait until they're completely backed into a corner before they fight. You're fighting from a position of strength. Keep doing that. After we hung up, I sat there for a while longer, watching people stream out of the community center, watching them get into their expensive cars and drive to their expensive houses where God knows what kind of messes were hiding behind the perfect exteriors. Harold tapped on my window. I rolled it down. You did good in there, he said. Thanks for the backup. That's what neighbors are for. Also, he handed me a folder. Took the liberty of pulling some public records. Might be interesting. I opened it. Building permits, contractor invoices, project timelines for the Riverside Luxury Collection. And there, buried in the financial disclosures, a line item that made my stomach drop. Staging services, Barrett Design Consulting, $15,000. I'd never gotten $15,000 from Tyler's company. I'd never gotten 15 cents. They're using your business name to pad invoices, Harold said quietly, probably claiming it as a project expense while paying that Brittany person under the table for less, pocketing the difference. That's fraud. That's fraud, Harold agreed. Question is, what are you going to do about it? I looked at the folder, at the evidence, at the paper trail that was starting to look less like a marriage and more like a crime scene. I'm going to burn it all down, I said, but I'm going to do it legally. Harold smiled. That's my girl. When I got home, Tyler's truck was gone and the house was dark. I turned on every light, let him complain about the electric bill, and spread the contents of Harold's folder across the dining room table. $15,000. My business name, my reputation, all being used without my knowledge while I staged other people's houses and pretended my life was fine. I called Brittany Hoffman, got her voicemail, left a message saying I had questions about the Riverside project and could she call me back. Then I pulled up my business accounts and started the process of separating them completely from Tyler. New bank, new cards, new everything. If he was going to use my name for fraud, he could do it without access to my money. My phone buzzed. Text from Megan. Hey, heard about the meeting. Rough night, huh? Here if you need to talk XO. The audacity. The absolute, breathtaking audacity. I didn't respond. Instead, I screenshotted the message and added it to my home projects folder, right next to everything else. Then I poured myself a glass of the expensive wine Tyler bought for special occasions, but never actually opened, and I started planning. Mrs. Kowalski was right. I'd know what was right for me. And what was right for me was making sure Tyler and Megan and Craig and everyone else who'd treated me like a convenient accessory understood exactly what they'd lost. I raised my glass to the empty house. To freedom, I said, and gravity. Brittany called me back at 8 a.m. the next morning, which meant she either wanted to help or wanted to cover herself. I was betting on the latter. Chloe, hi, she said, voice tight. Got your message. Thanks for calling back. I have some questions about your contract for the Riverside Luxury Collection staging. Silence. Then, I'm not sure I can discuss client contracts. Even when the client is committing invoice fraud using my business name. More silence. I could practically hear her calculating. Can we meet? She asked finally. Not on the phone. We agreed on the coffee place, the good one, not the chain, at 9:30. I got there early, ordered 2 lattes, and claimed a corner table where we could talk without being overheard. Brittany arrived right on time, looking like someone who'd slept poorly. She was younger than me, maybe 28, with that effortless style that comes from either money or excellent thrifting. Usually money, in this neighborhood. Okay, she said, sitting down. What do you know? I know there's a line item in the project budget for $15,000 in staging services from my company. I know I never bid on that project, never got hired, and certainly never got paid, and I know you're doing the work. I slid one of the lattes toward her. Question is, what did they tell you? She wrapped her hands around the cup. They said you were doing preliminary consulting, and I was doing the implementation, that the payment split was already arranged. Craig handled all the contracts. I just got hired to do the work. How much did they pay you? $7,500, half up front, half on completion. So they were pocketing the other $7,500. Nice. Did you get anything in writing? I asked. An email from Craig confirming the rate and timeline. That's it. Can you forward that to me? She hesitated. If I do this, if I help you, I'm probably not getting the rest of my payment. Probably not, I agreed. But if you don't, and this all comes out, which it will, you'll be tied to invoice fraud. They used my business name without permission, Brittany. That's not a grey area. She pulled out her phone. 30 seconds later, my email pinged. Thank you, I said. For what it's worth, Brittany said, your husband's an asshole. I heard what happened at his birthday dinner. Everyone's talking about it. What are they saying? That you had every right to walk out, that Megan's been way too comfortable in that relationship for way too long, that someone should have said something sooner. She paused. I'm sorry no one did. Jennifer was impressed. This is good, she said when I forwarded Brittany's email. This is invoice fraud, tax fraud probably, and misuse of your business identity. We can file complaints with the State Licensing Board, the IRS, and the HOA. Want me to draft them? Not yet. I want to see what else I can find first. Chloe, the more time passes, the more they can cover their tracks. I know, but I'm not trying to put them in prison. I'm trying to make them understand what they've lost. Jennifer sighed. You're a better person than me. But okay. What's your next move? I'm going to have a conversation with Megan. Careful. Always am. Megan taught a barre class Saturday mornings at Riverside Fitness, the boutique gym where everyone wore matching athleisure and pretended to enjoy planking. I'd never attended before. Kickboxing was more my speed. But I'd bought a class pack months ago when Tyler suggested we do more activities together, which in retrospect was probably code for I need you out of the house more. I showed up 10 minutes early, claimed a spot at the back, and watched Megan set up at the front. She looked perfect naturally. High ponytail, matching set, smile that belonged in a toothpaste commercial. She saw me and waved. Actually waved, like we were friends. The class was exactly what I expected. Lots of small movements that somehow hurt more than kickboxing, accompanied by aggressively upbeat music. Megan circulated, adjusting people's form, offering encouragement, being generally delightful. When class ended, I hung back while other people filtered out, then approached her at the front. Great class, I said. Thanks. I'm so glad you came. We should do brunch after. There's this new place. We need to talk about Tyler. Her smile didn't change, but something behind it did, like a light switching off. Chloe, I know things have been weird. Things have been fraudulent, I said. Did you know Tyler and Craig were using my business name to pad project invoices? What? No, I don't. I'm just in marketing. I don't handle the finances. But you handle Tyler. She stepped back. I think you're confused about what. I'm really not. I saw the credit card statements, Bella Notte, the spa gift certificate, the calendar entries with heart emojis. I know you two are together, Megan. Everyone knows. We're coworkers. You kissed him, at his birthday dinner, in front of 30 people. That was just, it was friendly. I pulled out my phone, showed her the screenshot of her text, the one where she'd called me houseplant wife, in a group chat with Craig and another associate. Her face went white. Where did you get that? Someone forwarded it to me. Guess you're not as popular with the team as you thought. I put my phone away. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop using my vendor accounts and my business name. You're going to stop pretending we're friends while you're sleeping with my husband. And you're going to think very carefully about whether you want to be attached to someone who commits fraud. You can't prove. I can prove all of it. Invoices, statements, forged signatures, vendor misuse. I have timestamps and screenshots and witnesses. So here's my advice. Distance yourself now while you still can. She moved closer, dropping her voice. You think you're so much better than me. You think Tyler's some prize you're fighting for. He complains about you constantly, Chloe. How boring you are, how you never want to do anything, how you're just there, taking up space. It should have hurt. Maybe it would have, a week ago. But right now, I just felt cold. If I'm so boring, I said, why are you threatened enough to talk about me in group chats? Her hand came up fast. I saw it. Rachel's training kicked in, and I stepped back. Her palm caught empty air, but my hand didn't. The slap was clean, sharp, open-palmed across her cheek. Not hard enough to injure, just hard enough to shock. The sound echoed in the empty studio. Megan stumbled back, hand to her face, eyes wide. Don't ever try to hit me again, I said quietly. Behind us, the studio door opened. 2 women in workout gear stood frozen, phones out, clearly having caught the whole thing on video. Perfect. I walked past them, past the front desk where the teenager manning the counter was staring with his mouth open, and out to my car. My hand was shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline, from finally taking up space in a way that couldn't be ignored or dismissed or called boring. I sat in the parking lot and waited for the fallout. It took 47 minutes. First, a call from Tyler. I didn't answer. Then a text. Megan says you assaulted her at the gym. Then another. Seriously, Chloe, what is wrong with you? Then Craig. We need to talk about your behavior. This is unacceptable. Then, interestingly, a text from one of the women who'd been filming. Hey, I'm Jessica. I was at the gym. Wanted you to know your video clearly shows her trying to hit you first, just in case you need it. I thanked her and saved her number. Rachel called next. Barrett, what did you do? Defended myself. Heard it was a good hit. You taught me well, she laughed. Gym's probably going to ban you. Policy about physical altercations. But between you and me, Megan's been coming to my kickboxing class, talking about how she doesn't understand drama, while creating it constantly. Needed someone to check her. I didn't go there planning. I know. But you handled it. That's what matters. You okay? Yeah. Actually, yeah, I am. Good. Let me know if you need anything. The gym ban came through that afternoon via email. Expected. Jennifer said it was probably for the best anyway. Gave us documentation that I'd been provoked, had acted in self-defense, and was being punished equally with the aggressor. Their policy probably says both parties get banned regardless of who started it, Jennifer explained. Covers their liability, but the witness videos show she came at you first. If she tries to press charges or get a restraining order, we're covered. Will she? Doubt it. She's got more to lose than you do right now. Her image is all about being the cool, chill, positive vibes girl. Assault charges would ruin that. Jennifer was right. By evening, Megan had posted a long Instagram story about choosing peace and not engaging with negativity and sending love to those who hurt us. No mention of trying to hit me first, naturally. The comments were interesting. Wait, what happened? Is this about Tyler Barrett's wife? Someone fill me in. And then, from an account I didn't recognize. Saw the video. You literally tried to hit her first, but okay. The video was already spreading. Not virally. This wasn't that kind of scandal. But within Riverside Oaks. Within the tight circle of people who actually mattered to Tyler's business. That was enough. Sunday morning, Tyler came home. I was working on Mrs. Kowalski's staging plan at the dining room table, surrounded by fabric swatches and paint samples, when I heard his truck in the driveway. He came in through the garage, moving carefully, like he was approaching a feral animal. Can we talk? He asked. We are talking. Chloe, please, this has gotten out of hand. I set down my pen. Has it? Because from where I'm sitting, it's gotten exactly as serious as it should have been from the start. You hit Megan. After she tried to hit me. There's video. Multiple angles. Want to see? He deflated a little, leaning against the doorframe. What do you want from me? I want you to admit what you did. The affair, the fraud, the forged signature, using my business name for fake invoices, all of it. It wasn't an affair. Tyler. He ran his hands through his hair. Okay, fine. Yes, Megan and I have been involved for about 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of him coming home and kissing me hello with the same mouth that had been on her. Half a year of lying in bed next to someone who was lying about everything. And the fraud? I asked, keeping my voice steady. It was just creative accounting. We needed the project to look more legitimate, needed higher budget numbers to impress investors. Your name has credibility. I was going to tell you. When? After you'd stolen enough. After you'd tanked my reputation when the whole thing collapsed. It wasn't going to collapse. Tyler, there's a drainage problem. The middle model is going to have foundation issues within a year. Harold documented it. The HOA is investigating. Your project is already collapsing. You just haven't realized it yet. He went pale. What are you talking about? I showed him Harold's photos, showed him the bylaw violations, showed him the paper trail that proved he'd known about the drainage issue before submitting the variance request. Because there were emails, of course there were, between him and Craig discussing whether they could get away with the slope. "Where did you get these?" he whispered. "Public records, HOA portal. Things you could have looked up yourself if you weren't too busy committing fraud and sleeping with your coworker." He sank into a chair. "This is going to ruin me." "Yes," I said simply. "It is." "Chloe, please, I made mistakes. I know I did. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can... I don't want to fix this. I want you to understand what you've lost." "So that's it. You're just going to destroy everything I've built." "You destroyed it yourself. I'm just making sure everyone can see the rubble." He looked at me like he'd never seen me before. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe I'd been so busy staging the perfect life that I'd forgotten to actually live in it, to demand respect, to take up space. "I need you to move out," I said. "Temporarily, permanently, I don't care. But I need you gone." "This is my house too." "Then I'll leave. But one of us needs to go, and I'm betting you'll find it easier to explain to your business partners that you're temporarily staying somewhere else than to explain why your wife is the one who left after you committed fraud using her identity." He had nothing to say to that, just sat there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Finally, he stood up. "I'll get some things." I went back to my fabric swatches while he packed. Didn't watch him carry boxes to his truck. Didn't say goodbye when the door closed behind him. Just sat there in the house that was finally, completely quiet, and breathed. Monday, I filed formal complaints. First, to the HOA, official written statement that I hadn't authorized the signature on the variance form and requesting investigation of the fraud and the drainage issue. Second, to the State Licensing Board, documentation of the invoice fraud using my business name. Third, to my vendor network, formal notice that Tyler Barrett and his associates were not authorized to use my accounts or credentials, effective immediately. Jennifer helped me word everything carefully. Nothing slanderous, nothing emotional, just facts and documentation and requests for appropriate action. "This is going to make waves," she warned. "Good, let it." The waves started Tuesday morning. Craig called. "Chloe, we need to resolve this quietly, for everyone's sake." "There's nothing quiet about fraud, Craig. It was a misunderstanding. It was a crime. You used my business name to inflate project costs and pocket the difference. That's fraud. The HOA's investigating. The licensing board's investigating. And if you don't make this right, the IRS will be investigating too." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm stating facts. If you'd like to discuss settlement terms, have your lawyer contact mine." I gave him Jennifer's number and hung up. An hour later, Tyler's other associate, Mason, the mortgage broker Jim Bro type, texted, "You need to chill out. This is affecting all of us." I replied, "Then you all should have thought about that before committing fraud." He tried calling. I blocked him. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Answered it cautiously. "Is this Chloe Barrett?" Male voice, unfamiliar. "Who's asking?" "My name's Derek. I'm Megan's ex-boyfriend. We need to talk." We met at a park halfway between Riverside Oaks and the city, neutral territory, where neither of us was likely to run into anyone we knew. Derek was tall, athletic, looked like the kind of guy who'd be perfect for Megan's Instagram aesthetic. He also looked angry. "So you're the wife," he said when I walked up. "And you're the ex. She cheated on me with your husband. Thought you should know." I figured. He pulled out his phone. "She's also been using him. Using both of you, really. Look." He showed me screenshots, text messages between Megan and someone named Ashley, talking about how Megan was playing Tyler to get ahead at the company, how she was building her brand on his credibility, how the affair was strategic. Another screenshot, Megan's Notes app, listing Tyler's contacts and how she could leverage each one for her social media growth. Another, an email draft from Megan to a brand sponsor, bragging about her connection to major property developers and attaching photos from Tyler's project sites, including photos of my staging work credited to her. "She's been stealing your content," Derek said. "Your staging photos, your design work, posting it like it's hers, building sponsorships off it." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she did the same thing to me. Dated me to get access to my photography equipment and contacts, then dumped me the second she didn't need me anymore. I've been watching her do it to other people ever since. Your husband's just the latest mark." He paused, "and I'm tired of watching her get away with it." "What do you want?" "I want her to face consequences, real ones, and I think you're the person who can make that happen." He transferred the screenshots to my phone. "Do with these what you want, but I'd love to see her lose everything she's built on lies." After he left, I sat in my car and looked through everything he'd sent, the casual cruelty of it, the calculation. Megan hadn't just been having an affair with my husband, she'd been using both of us, using my work and my reputation to build her own brand, all while calling me boring in group chats. I called Jennifer. "We just got ammunition," I said. Wednesday afternoon, Tyler requested a meeting, said it was urgent, said Craig's lawyer wanted to discuss settlement. We met at Jennifer's office. Tyler brought Craig and a lawyer I didn't recognize. They all looked exhausted. "My clients want to resolve this matter quickly and quietly," their lawyer said. "They're prepared to compensate you for any inconvenience." "Inconvenience?" I repeated. "They committed fraud using my business identity." "That's a strong word." "It's the correct word. Invoice fraud, forged signatures, misuse of business credentials. Strong, but accurate." Jennifer slid a folder across the table. "Our demands are simple. Full restitution of the $15,000 fraudulently invoiced under Ms. Barrett's business name. Public correction of the HOA record, acknowledging the signature was unauthorized. Written agreement that none of the parties will use Ms. Barrett's name, business, or credentials for any purpose going forward, and compensation for the damage to her professional reputation." "How much compensation?" Craig asked. $50,000. Tyler nearly choked. "That's ridiculous." "That's what it costs to rebuild a business reputation after your partners commit fraud using your name," Jennifer said calmly. "You're lucky she's not demanding more. You're lucky she's not pressing criminal charges." Their lawyer whispered something to Craig and Tyler. Long pause. More whispering. "We need time to consider." "You have until Friday at 5, Jennifer said. "After that, we file criminal complaints with the district attorney's office, and this stops being a private settlement matter." We left them there, scrambling. Thursday morning, I got a call from a reporter at the local business journal. "Ms. Barrett, I'm doing a story on property development fraud in suburban communities. Your name came up in some HOA records I've been reviewing. Would you be willing to comment?" I put him on hold and called Jennifer. "Don't comment," she said immediately. "But don't refuse either. Tell him you're involved in a legal matter and can't discuss details, but you'll be happy to speak with him once it's resolved. That puts pressure on Tyler and Craig without you having to do anything." I did exactly that. The reporter thanked me and said he'd follow up. 20 minutes later, Tyler called. "A reporter just contacted me about fraud allegations. Did you talk to the press?" "Nope." "Chloe, if this goes public, then you should probably settle before it does." He hung up. Friday afternoon, Jennifer got the call. They were accepting our terms, all of them. "Wire transfer clears Monday," she told me. $65,000 total, $15,000 restitution plus $50,000 damages. They're also agreeing to the public correction and the written prohibition on using your business. What about the HOA investigation? They can't stop that. The drainage issue is real, and Judith's not backing down. That project's going to face delays at minimum, probably fines. Could tank the whole thing if investors get nervous. Good. Chloe, you won. You can be happy about it. Could I? I felt hollow. Vindicated, yes, but also exhausted, like I'd run a marathon only to realize the finish line was just the start of a longer race. I'll be happy when it's over, I said. It is over. This is the end. No, I said, thinking of Megan's screenshots, of her stolen photos and calculated manipulations. This is just the beginning. The wire transfer cleared Monday morning. $65,000, sitting in my business account like validation in numerical form. I paid Jennifer her retainer, updated my vendor contracts to explicitly prohibit authorization transfers, and then sat at my desk staring at Derek's screenshots. Megan had been stealing my work, publishing my staging photos on her Instagram, crediting herself, building brand partnerships off my labor. I counted 17 posts over the past 6 months, each one featuring rooms I'd designed, furniture I'd arranged, details I'd agonized over. Her follower count had tripled in that time. Her bio now listed interior design consultant, along with her marketing title and links to 3 brand sponsorships. I called Brittany. Hey, she said, sounding wary. Heard you got your settlement. I did. Listen, I need your professional opinion on something. If someone was posting your staging work and claiming it as their own, how would you handle it? Watermarks. Always watermark the photos. And if they're already out there without credit, you send cease and desist letters to them and any brands they're working with. She paused. Who's stealing your work? Take a guess. Megan, of course it's Megan. She sighed. Want me to look at her feed? I can tell you if those are definitely your projects. We went through it together over video chat, Brittany confirming what I already knew. The Craftsman on Oak Street, mine. The Mid-Century Ranch on Maple, mine. The contemporary townhouse downtown that had taken me 3 weeks to perfect, mine, mine, mine. This is copyright infringement, Brittany said. You own these photos. You can file DMCA takedowns with Instagram, and you should definitely contact the brands she's partnering with. They won't want to be associated with someone who steals content. Can you help me document which projects are mine? I need timestamps, original files, anything that proves I created these spaces. Absolutely. Send me your portfolio and give me a day. While Brittany compiled evidence, I focused on the Riverside Luxury Collection's very public unraveling. The HOA investigation concluded Tuesday. Judith posted the findings in the neighborhood Facebook group, 3 single-spaced pages detailing unauthorized signatures, drainage violations, and permit misrepresentations. The comment section was immediate chaos. How did this even get approved? Didn't Craig Watson vote on this? Conflict of interest much? Someone needs to resign from the board. Harold posted a thoughtful comment pointing out specific bylaw violations and suggesting the board implement stricter oversight procedures going forward. Several people seconded him. Then someone, I suspect Harold, though he'd never admit it, shared the Business Journal reporter's LinkedIn post about his upcoming story on property development irregularities in growing suburban markets. That's when Craig resigned from the HOA board, posted a brief statement about focusing on professional commitments and avoiding any appearance of impropriety. Very loyally, very empty. Tyler posted nothing. His social media had gone dark after the birthday dinner incident, which was probably wise, but also made him look guilty. Megan, meanwhile, was posting inspirational quotes about overcoming adversity and rising above negativity. Her followers ate it up, not for long. Wednesday, Brittany sent me a complete portfolio comparison. My original photos with metadata showing creation dates matched against Megan's Instagram posts with later dates. 17 instances, clear as day. Jennifer drafted the letters. First, to Megan directly. Cease and desist. Remove all infringing content within 72 hours. cease claiming credit for work she didn't create. Second, to her 3 brand partners, notification that the influencer they'd partnered with was using stolen content to promote their products, with documentation attached. Third, to Instagram, formal DMCA complaints for all 17 posts. This is going to destroy her online presence, Jennifer said. She destroyed it herself, I replied. I'm just making sure people know the truth. The letters went out Wednesday afternoon. By Thursday morning, 2 of Meghan's brand partnerships had severed ties. Public statements on their Instagram stories. We've recently learned that content associated with one of our partners was not properly attributed. We take intellectual property seriously and have ended this partnership effective immediately. Meghan's followers noticed immediately. Wait, what happened? Who stole content? Did Meghan do something? Meghan went into damage control mode, posted a long story about misunderstandings and collaborative work, and shared projects where credit got confused. Then Derek posted. He'd been quiet this whole time, watching from the sidelines like he'd promised, but Thursday afternoon, he shared a simple Instagram story. Screenshots of Meghan's text messages, where she explicitly talked about using other people's work, overlaid with a caption. When you build your brand on lies, eventually someone notices. He tagged 3 local design bloggers and the Business Journal reporter. The comments on Meghan's posts turned. This is fraud. You've been lying about your work. Everyone unfollow this scammer. Her Instagram lost 3,000 followers in 6 hours. Friday morning, Instagram removed 12 of the 17 posts for copyright violation. The other 5, Meghan deleted herself. Her bio no longer mentioned interior design. Just marketing professional. Tyler called me Friday afternoon. You went after Meghan, he said. Was that really necessary? She stole my work, published it as her own. Built brand deals off my labor. Yes, it was necessary. You got your money. You got your settlement. This is just vindictive. No, Tyler. Vindictive would be posting all those screenshots Derek gave me, the ones where she talks about using you to advance her career. Vindictive would be making sure everyone knows she called you an easy mark in her notes app. This is just protecting my intellectual property. Silence. Then, what screenshots? Oh, you didn't know? Meghan kept detailed notes on how to manipulate you, how to leverage your contacts, how to build her brand on your credibility and my work. She played both of us, Tyler. Difference is, I'm doing something about it. More silence. I could hear him breathing, could practically hear his world cracking. I'll email them to you, I said. Might want to read them before you rush to her defense again. I hung up. Saturday, I had Mrs. Kowalski's final walkthrough. The house looked beautiful, light, fresh, respectful of its history, while appealing to modern buyers. She cried a little when she saw it. You have a gift, she said, squeezing my hand, for seeing what matters and making it shine. We sat on the front porch afterward, drinking lemonade while neighbors walked dogs and kids rode bikes down the sidewalk. How are you doing? She asked. With everything? Getting there. And your husband? Still legally my husband, not sure for how much longer. She nodded. After my husband's affair, I gave him a choice. Counseling in complete transparency or divorce. No middle ground. He chose transparency. It worked for us, but that doesn't mean it's the right choice for everyone. What would you do if you were my age? She smiled. I'd probably do exactly what you're doing. Make him face consequences. Make her face consequences. Rebuild on my own terms. She paused. The difference between your generation and mine is you have options. We were told to forgive and forget. You're allowed to remember and require better. I liked that. Remember and require better. Monday morning, the Business Journal article dropped. Property development fraud in Riverside Oaks. How one company inflated budgets through identity misuse and permit violations. The reporter hadn't used names, probably legally safer, but anyone familiar with the situation knew exactly who he meant. He quoted HOA documents, referenced the settlement, mentioned the drainage violations and subsequent permit delays. He also quoted an unnamed industry professional, saying this kind of fraud was more common than people thought in hot suburban markets, where oversight was minimal and everyone trusted everyone else. The article got picked up by a real estate blog, then another, then a podcast about development ethics. Tyler's company website went dark Tuesday afternoon. Just a holding page saying under reconstruction with no timeline. Craig's realtor license was flagged for investigation by the state board. Nothing formal yet, but the inquiry was public record. And Mason, the mortgage broker associate, suddenly had several client reviews mentioning ethical concerns and unprofessional behavior. I didn't write them, didn't need to. Enough people had been watching, had their own complaints, had just been waiting for someone else to go first. Wednesday, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Ashley, Megan's friend. You need to stop. She's really struggling." I replied, "She committed copyright infringement and intellectual property theft. I'm not the villain in this story. She made mistakes, but she doesn't deserve to have her whole career ruined. Neither did I. Yet she tried to ruin mine by stealing my work. Actions have consequences." She stopped responding. Thursday, I got a call from Tyler. He sounded different, smaller. "Can we meet, just to talk?" "About what?" "About what happens next. About whether there's any way to fix this." We met at the park, same one where I'd met Derek. Neutral territory. Tyler looked rough, unshaven, circles under his eyes, wearing a wrinkled shirt that the old Tyler would have never been caught in. "The company's done," he said. "Craig and I are dissolving the partnership. The Riverside project is getting sold to another developer at a loss. I'm personally liable for about $200,000 in shortfalls. That's unfortunate." "Unfortunate," he laughed, sharp and bitter. "Chloe, I'm ruined. My reputation, my business, my finances, everything's gone. You did this to yourself." "I know." He looked at me. "I read those screenshots, the ones Derek gave you. I've been so stupid." "Yeah, you have. Is there any chance, any possibility that we could work through this? That I could earn back your trust?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. About the 5 years we'd spent together, the life we'd built, the version of Tyler I'd fallen for before he got obsessed with image and success and keeping up with everyone else. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Right now, I don't trust you, I don't respect you, and I don't particularly like you." He flinched. "But," I continued, "if you actually do the work, real therapy, real accountability, real change, maybe someday we could talk about it. Maybe." "What kind of work?" "Figure out why you thought fraud was acceptable. Why you thought hurting me was acceptable. Why you prioritized image over integrity. And why you let Megan manipulate you so thoroughly that you threw away your marriage and your business for someone who saw you as a stepping stone." He nodded slowly. "That's fair. In the meantime, I need space. Real space. No calls unless it's about legal stuff or house stuff. No showing up unannounced. No trying to convince me that what you did wasn't that bad." "Okay. And Tyler, if you contact Megan, if you defend her, if you try to minimize what she did, we're done. Permanently. No second chances. I haven't talked to her since you sent those screenshots. I'm done with her." "Good." We sat in silence for a while, watching people walk their dogs and push strollers, living their normal lives while ours imploded. "I really loved you," Tyler said quietly. "I still do. I just got so caught up in trying to be successful, trying to prove something, that I lost sight of what actually mattered." "Yeah," I said. "You did." He left first. I sat there a while longer, feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Not quite peace, but maybe the beginning of it. Friday afternoon, Harold knocked on my door. "Brought you something," he said, handing me a folder. More public records. This time from the county assessor's office. The middle model's been red tagged, Harold explained. Foundation inspection failed. Needs major remediation before anyone can occupy it. The other 2 models passed, but the whole project stalled because they can't show all 3 units. How much will the remediation cost? 100,000, maybe more. And that's if the new developer decides it's worth fixing rather than tearing down and rebuilding. I whistled. Tyler said he's personally liable for 200,000 in shortfalls. This'll make it worse. Harold studied me. You feeling guilty? Should I be? Nope. He cut corners, forged signatures, committed fraud. This is just gravity, Chloe. What goes up without proper foundation eventually comes down. After he left, I made coffee and sat on my back deck, watching the sunset over the neighborhood. Perfect lawns, perfect houses, perfect lives hiding imperfect truths. My phone buzzed. Text from Derek. Megan deleted her Instagram. Guess she couldn't handle the consequences. Another text from Brittany. Just got hired to finish staging the Riverside models that aren't condemned. Want to collaborate? I'll split the fee. Another from Rachel. Kickboxing tomorrow? Heard you've had a week. And finally, one from Jennifer. Divorce papers drafted if you want them, or we can wait. Your call. I looked at that last message for a long time. Then I put my phone down and just breathed. Tomorrow I'd decide. Tonight, I'd just sit here in the quiet and remember what it felt like to take up space, to demand respect, to build something real instead of something staged. And maybe, eventually, I'd even forgive myself for not seeing it sooner.